Hello, I am Catherine Bushnell, and I am the past president of IASP. Today, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the IASP Global Year 2024, the global year about sex and gender disparities in pain. Global years focus on a special aspect of pain to increase awareness within the pain community and beyond. The 2024 Global Year examines what is known about sex and gender differences in pain perception and modulation, and addresses sex and gender-related disparities in both the research and treatment of pain. So why have a global year about sex and gender disparities? Well, despite evidence of sex-related differences in pain perception and modulation in both humans and non-human mammals, many preclinical studies still do not address sex as a variable. Even less study is devoted to human gender differences in pain, especially as the classification of gender identity becomes more complex and fluid. Further, our views about pain in males and females often show bias. Here, I'll give some examples of sex differences and biases that exist in research and treatment of pain. So, there is a general belief that women are more sensitive to pain than men, and this study examined that belief. So here, subjects were asked what the typical woman's sensitivity to pain is versus the typical men's sensitivity. And you can see here by these numbers 64 versus 46 that these subjects said that women were more sensitive to pain than men. On the other hand, they also said that women had lower endurance of pain than men. And when we break the study sample down into male subjects and female subjects, we find something similar. The males all said that women were more sensitive to pain than men, and they said that women had less endurance of pain than men. Now, the female subjects also felt that women were more sensitive to pain than men, but they did not think that women had a lower endurance of pain than men. So there's much evidence that women actually are more sensitive to pain than men. And here's some studies in the laboratory. Here's an example of one that shows that women are more sensitive to multiple experimental pain measures. Here they presented heat stimuli, ischemia, cold, and pressure, and they looked at both the pain threshold and pain tolerance. And you can see across all these measures, women had a lower tolerance and higher pain and lower pain threshold than men. However, when we go into the clinic, we actually find that women need higher doses of opiates than men for post-surgical pain relief, despite the fact that women are actually smaller than men in general. But we also have a gender bias in estimating pain in others. And here's an example of a study where subjects looked at images of people in pain. And there were male images and female images, and they controlled for the effects of this facial expression. They had multiple images with multiple facial expressions. And what they found is that both the men and women in the study overestimated the pain of men and underestimated the pain of the women. Further, these people were more likely to say that women should be referred to psychotherapy while men wouldn't need psychotherapy for their pain. So how about sex differences in pain in rodents? Well, there's been some analysis of sex bias in rodent research across all neuroscience, not just pain. And here they show that almost half the studies that use rodents for neuroscience research only use male rodents. Only 25% use both sexes, and among those 25%, only a very small number actually look at sex as a variable to see if there are differences in the outcome measure between the sexes. Now, if we go to our journal, the IASP journal Pain, the #1 journal in the pain field, and we look about how studies in our journal report sex in animals, and we found that until 2019, hardly any studies ever reported what sex they were using in the animal studies. So that started to get better in 2019. But if you look at like the number of studies that only used male subjects, it's almost, well, it was almost all the subjects for a long time. Now by 2019, it's half of the subjects, which is a big improvement. But again, only a small percentage here on the bottom right, showing that there's really only very few studies that actually look at sex differences in the pain. Now, among these small number of studies that look at sex differences, they're finding some very big effects. Female rodents are more sensitive to pain than male rodents. So 85% of the studies that looked at that found that females were more sensitive than males, just like we find in the human literature. And female rodents are less sensitive to analgesics. Again, just like with females, human subjects, human patients, there is less sensitivity to analgesic drugs in the female rodents than the male rodents. Now, there's a whole new territory of evaluating pain in using transgender individuals. There's not much that's been done so far, but there are a few studies. Here's an example of one study that looked at pelvic pain in transgender people who are undergoing testosterone therapy. Now, the nice thing about using transgender subjects is that these individuals provide a new avenue for separating sex and gender differences in pain. Someone can be one biological sex and the other gender, so we can look at the effects of sex versus gender. And here's one study that has done this. Again, there's it's a very small literature, but now people are starting to look at this. And in this study, there were biologically female subjects that transitioned to male. And these are people who had chronic pain when they transitioned, and transitioning from female to male improved their chronic pain, consistent with the idea that men have lower pain than women. So what are the goals of Global Year 2024? We want to highlight the importance of sex and gender disparities in pain and pain care. We want to communicate what we currently know about sex and gender disparities, highlighting the ways in which variation in pain occurs, as well as the biological, psychological, and social, cultural reasons for this. We want to reflect on the challenges that a sex and gender approach highlights in how we understand and manage pain, as well as approaches we should take to overcome these challenges. The 2024 Global Year Task Force is being led by Edmund Kao of UK and Sasakan Nimarat of Thailand. And we have task force members from all around the world who are generously donating their time to work on these efforts. The task force, the Global Year Task Force, publishes a series of fact sheets on various topics. And these fact sheets are short and highly readable for both healthcare professionals and patients. The 2024 Global Year has 9 of these fact sheets. And the fact sheets are free and are available on the IASP website. The fact sheets will be translated into multiple languages. So these are the titles of the 9 fact sheets that we have this year. I'm not going to read them out, but again, you can go on the IASP website and you can download them. They are free PDFs, free to everyone. Now, we will also in the next few months before the end of the year be releasing some videos and webinars. Again, these are free virtual series. They'll be available on the IASP website. I also want to point out that we have many global years in the past, and they focused on all different aspects of pain: orofacial pain, back pain, neuropathic pain, headache, all different topics. And if you go on the IASP website, you can find the fact sheets from these previous years. Again, please, if you're interested in any of these topics or your patients are interested, please download them. Many of these have been translated into other languages, particularly Spanish, French. So if you're interested, go on our website. So before signing off, I'd like to just point out a couple of things. One is I want to invite you to the next IASP World Congress on Pain, which is going to be held in Bangkok, Thailand in October 2026. Also in 2025, we have two upcoming meetings. We have the International Symposium on Pediatric Pain that's going to take place in Glasgow in June 2025. And we have the International Congress on Neuropathic Pain that's going to be held in Berlin, Germany in September 2025. Now, finally, for those of you who are not already IASP members, please think about joining our community. We have some wonderful things that we can offer you. If you go on our website, you can see all the different things the advantages of joining. We've changed our structure, our membership pricing structure, so the people who of low means will be able to join for very, very modest amounts. So take a look. Please join us. We'd love to have you as part of our community. And thank you today. Enjoy your meeting.